some people turn out a certain way because of their father, and other people turn out a certain way in spite of their father. And I think in your situation, you've turned out the way you have in spite of your biological father.
You are listening to episode 7 of Complicated Fatherhood, an 8-episode podcast docuseries exploring how my own journey through fatherhood has been affected by the father that I never knew. I'm your host, Ryan Rucker, and if this is your first time listening to this podcast, well, thank you, but I need you to stop, head back, let's start with episode 1 so you don't miss a thing. And at the end of the episode, if you like what you hear, head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating if you could. These ratings help others find this podcast, which for an independent podcaster like myself is very helpful. But regardless, I am honored that you chose to stop by, so thank you. Now let's get into it. Baby, you can choose to never have a bad day again. That's a quote I've got hanging on the wall in my daughter Sienna's room. Where did it come from? Funny enough, the story is incredibly random, but I'm telling you that one sentence has changed my life. I was a huge fan of the show Nashville. If you're unfamiliar with it, it ran from 2012 to 2018 on ABC, then CMT. I think I'd just finished binge watching Friday Night Lights, and then I'd heard Connie Britton was set to star in the show. I mean, that was it. Anyway, in 2014, Rolling Stone magazine ran a story called 10 Things We Learned on the Set of Nashville. Now, if you're a fan of a show and you see something like that, I mean, you click it, right? Well, I did. So here are the first 3 things we learned in this article. By the way, I spent an embarrassing amount of time searching for this article, so I could be as accurate as possible. So here it is. Number 1. In the season finale, Juliet Barnes gets hammered and screws things up. Again. Number 2. Some songs will be recycled in a different light. And number 3. Raina's torn between 2 singing lovers. Man, I really forgot how great that show was. So I came to the 4th thing, and it says, the guy who plays Juliet's bodyguard, Bo, did 2 tours in Iraq. The actor's name is Melvin Kearney, and according to his IMDb page, Nashville is the only show he's credited with. He appeared in 28 episodes. That's it. The piece goes on to say, Melvin Kearney became a motivational speaker after returning from his 2nd tour of combat, during which he lost 5 friends. He was speaking to wounded warriors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, when an audience member asked him if he's ever acted. I act a fool in front of my family, Kearney joked in response. But the woman convinced him to audition for Nashville, and given his lack of acting experience, he swears it was a smile that scored him the gig. I used to take my mom to chemotherapy, he recalls of his late mother, and she'd say, baby, you can choose to never have a bad day again. You can't control your circumstances, but you can control your attitude. Regarding my father, up until this point, almost everything's been heavy. Not just in these conversations, but really since we first met. A part of me wants to hold on to that grudge and not show any signs of happiness. But the truth is, I am happy. To me, forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened. In fact, forgiveness is very much remembering what happened and choosing to move forward. That's not for everyone, but for me, if I'm in a position to relieve myself of the emotional burden that comes along with being abandoned by a parent, which thanks to therapy, meditation, and deep emotional work, I am, then why would I choose to carry that burden unnecessarily? Sometimes you just need to let the hair down, ask some silly questions, and enjoy the present because honestly, this life is so hard as it is. When I get down on myself or my circumstances, I think of the words of Melvin Kearney's mother. You can't control your circumstances, but you can control your attitude. Baby, you can choose to never have a bad day again.
So, I got my 20 questions for you.
Sounds good. So I've got 20 questions for you as well. But where did the idea for 20 questions come from?
You know what? I actually have no idea, but for some reason I was just watching a cartoon, Bob's Burgers, and they were having sort of like the same thing, 20 questions on it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know how you wanted to do it. Did you want to do like tit for tat, or do you want me to ask my 20, then you ask your 20, or you ask your 20, I ask my 20?
Yeah,
how does that want to go?
Yeah, let's do you ask your 20, then I'll ask my 20.
Okay, cool. All right. So you're recording?
I am. Yep. Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. So some of my questions are going to be two-parters.
All right, cool.
All right. So, first one, what's your favorite food as a kid and your favorite food as an adult?
My favorite food as a kid were chicken wings. My favorite food as an adult are still chicken wings.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I love chicken wings.
Bone in or bone out?
Bone in. I mean, I'll if somebody gives me bone out, I'm never going to turn them down. But if I'm going to order them,
exactly.
bone in for sure.
Yeah, give me the ones with the bones, the big ones with the bones.
Actually,
all right.
You know what's funny is, God, my mom would kill me for telling this story. When I was a kid, like we both loved, we loved chicken wings, and so she would actually take me down to Albany to go to Hooters because Hooters had like the best wings. So I'd be 7 or 8 or 9, and me and my mom and grandma, we would go to Hooters to pick up wings. And you know, like I think she had said there was one time where somebody had asked me, you know, what my favorite food was as a kid. And mind you, I'm probably like 8. And I was like, Hooters wings. My mom takes me there all the time. And she's like, oh, can you not tell people that I take you to Hooters all the time? Some good wings.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Your next thing, favorite singer, female or male, or one of each?
Good question. Favorite singer of all time is Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Favorite woman singer. Oh man. I'm gonna say Tori Kelly. I love Tori Kelly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know who Tori Kelly is.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. So definitely check her out.
All right, your favorite band in terms of like the musicianship and the style of music they play. The favorite band.
Yeah, favorite band is the Lone Bellow. I love the Lone Bellow.
What are they like?
They I think I've heard them referred to as like Brooklyn country, which is funny because I'm not like a country person, but
Right.
I think they're based out in Nashville. Man, the lead singer he's just powerful, absolutely powerful. The songwriting from them is phenomenal. Like every song that you listen to, it feels like they just turned the microphone on and just did it in one take. Like they are just so authentic, and I absolutely just adore their music. And it's funny because we've actually seen them a couple times. They've come to the city, and one time was totally an accident. They were playing at this festival in Sacramento, and I had no idea. And I walk into the festival, and I was like, oh, they're playing the Lone Bellows' new album. Like, that's really cool. And then we're walking around the festival. I'm like, wow, they're still playing this album. Like, it's really good. And then I turn the corner, and Allie goes, I think they're here playing live. And I look up at the stage, and I'm like, oh my God. So we actually went up and got to see him, and it was cool because not a ton of people knew who they were. And so after they were done, me and Ray and Allie, we actually went over and we got to meet them and take our picture with them. They were super nice. But I love the Lone Bellow. Lot of others like Johnny Swim I love. There's a bunch of others I love, but the Lone Bellow, top of my list.
Cool. So, your favorite TV show?
Parks and Recreation, hands down. NBC. That ran from, I think, 2009 to 2015.
Yeah,
It was.
I love that show.
Oh, yeah. My favorite show of all time.
Oh, Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris Pratt's good. Actually, the name Ice Cream Would Be Nothing came from Parks and Recreation. It came from Ron Swanson.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it was a quote from him in the show where he was talking to a
It sounds like something he would say.
Oh, for sure. He was writing a letter to I think it was a frozen yogurt place. And he was like, dear frozen yogurt, you are the celery of desserts. Be ice cream or be nothing. 0 star. And I was like, oh man, that'd be a great name for an ice cream shop. And I was like, wait, but my ice cream shop. So I looked and the domain was available. The Instagram handle was available. So I took both and was like, one day I'll do something with it. And sure enough, 5 years later, I am.
Yeah, cool. All right. So your favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie. My go-to, I love Inglourious Bastards. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but yeah, Inglourious Bastards was good. Inception was really good. I love both of those. And then like my favorite, like just kind of like put on, like let me laugh, is Wedding Crashers. I love. Crazy Stupid Love. I love that one too.
Yep. Right. So your favorite place to vacation?
Oh, favorite place to vacation. Allie's gonna laugh when she hears this, but I'm gonna say Vermont. I love Vermont so much. It's a beautiful place. The people are great. So I'm going to say Vermont. I probably should be saying like Cancun or something like that, but
I told you when I lived in Vermont and I worked at the Home Depot in Williston,
mm-hmm.
There was 2 things that I recognized in Vermont. It's where all the men with gray ponytails go to live. And in this store, there were more related people, like brothers. The store that I worked at, it was like almost like a family. There was like husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, fathers, sons, daughters, uncles, mothers and daughters. There was like this unbelievable amount of people who were like every day I was finding out, I'm like, wow, somebody, you're related to her, you're related to him. And it was like this really nice kind of vibe at the store. I really enjoyed being in Vermont for that.
Okay.
Anyway, what's next? Favorite cartoon?
Oh, favorite cartoon? Oh God, that is a good question. I think from my childhood.
Yeah.
Doug? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Doug. I think I enjoyed that one. Yeah, or Recess. I loved Recess too. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I like those too as well. I had a girlfriend, she used to call it Doug and his dog. She's like, oh, I love that show, Doug and his dog. So the name of the show is not Doug and his dog. It's just Doug. She's like, yeah, whatever. It's Doug and his dog. Let's see. All right, your dream job.
Oh, dream job. As a kid, it was to be a sports broadcaster. That's really what I wanted to do. As an adult, my dream job would just be an ice cream maker, honestly. Just making ice cream all day long, talking about ice cream all day long. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Cool. All right. Who is your number one hero?
number one hero. I mean, to be honest, I know, to be honest, it'd be my mom, especially
Yeah.
living.
I felt that coming.
Yeah, well, it's funny. My first, reaction was to go like celebrity or like somebody well known, but and I'll say that one too. But yeah, in terms of my mom, just especially as an adult now with two kids, looking back on life, it's like, man, there were points where she had three jobs. Like I've told you before, like she didn't date. Like there weren't guys coming around the house. Like everything in her life was focused on me. And as a kid, that's all I knew. I mean, she even gave me the master bedroom in our 2-bedroom house. And as a kid, like these are all things that I don't know. I just was normal. Like I don't think I was spoiled, but like there were things that were pretty normal to me. But now as an adult with two kids,
Right.
job and all these things, I'm like, wow, she really gave up everything for me. So
Right.
that's that. And she got that from my grandma, who was the same exact way. Um, so easily my mom, my grandma, and then yeah, from like a big picture moment, it would either be Dr. Martin Luther King or Barack Obama.
Cool. All right. So, how do you relax?
How do I relax? I love going for walks. We have this incredible trail in our neighborhood. Yeah, it's just underneath trees. It is just a beautiful walk. I love taking the dogs out there and just going for a walk, putting on my headphones, listening to a podcast. So, that's probably the easiest way I relax. I love going for hikes and things like that. But just in terms of, if I'm having a stressful day at work or whatever, it's like, hey, let me grab my headphones, get the two dogs, and let's just go for a walk.
Okay.
Mhm.
Your favorite song?
Favorite song is Dirty Diana by Michael Jackson. Mhm.
Okay. If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be?
Oh, any historical figure. I mean, alive would be Obama, hands down. Like that is somebody who I would love, 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 love to just sit down, pick his brain, and it's interesting because I've always not like I'm ever going to be president or run for president or anything like that, but when I first knew who he was and like saw that he was going to be running for president, this is like '06, or I think like '04 when I saw him at the DNC convention because I was 18, and then like as I started hearing that he like might run for president, I started to get to know his life, and one of my professors in college actually gave me his book. I think it was I forget which one, if it was The Audacity of Hope or Dreams of My Father, but she gave me the book, and as it must have been Dreams of My Father. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of similarities. Like, here's a guy half black, half white. Here's a guy who didn't know his dad growing up. He was raised, he was very close with his grandparents. We lived next door to my grandparents. And it's even funny because at the time, obviously I had no kids, didn't know Allie, but then all these times later, like he has two girls, I've got two girls. So he's somebody I've always saw a lot of myself in him. And
Right.
so he's easily a historical figure who I would love to sit down with. And then in the past, oh man, I mean, again, Martin Luther King Jr. would probably be an easy one. Um, yeah, so I'll go with that.
Cool. Okay. Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I've got a lot. I think, one of the hobbies right now is making ice cream and doing the ice cream videos, and yeah, I love doing all that. I love being able to just experiment with ice cream, and now I'm really trying to get into the science of ice cream. So I love just being able to make good ice cream. So that's probably the biggest hobby I have right now.
Cool. What's your favorite sport?
Basketball.
What's your favorite beverage?
I'm gonna say ginger ale because I'm drinking a ton of ginger ale right now. Lemonade, I do love lemonade too, and yeah, but just give me a good ginger ale, ginger beer. I love ginger beer. So yeah, something like that.
Cool. So we're down to the last 5 questions.
All right.
Relatively easy. Who is your favorite teacher and why?
Oh, favorite teacher. My favorite teacher is Miss Abel. She was my theater teacher junior year, junior year of high school. And one of the reasons I absolutely love her is because I didn't want to take theater class. I remember my first day of junior year, I saw it on my schedule and I was like, I didn't sign up for theater, so I didn't show up. And like I think I was like, oh, I'll just try to be like a TA somewhere. And then I don't know who it was. I think like my track coach who was like involved in school, like he had heard I didn't go or something like that. Was like, look, like you need to go to this class. Just stick with it. So on the second day I showed up, and my buddy Demario was in the class. My buddy Tess was in the class. So it was like the three of us and none of us wanted to take it. Me and Demario were like, well, really all three of us were into sports. So like theater just seemed, I don't know. I was like, I don't want anything to do with theater. And on the first day of class, like she made all of us get up on stage and like give, I think it was like a 5-minute monologue on who we are. So I got up there. I was like, all right, cool. Like I did it. And, she really worked with us and broke us down to help us understand and appreciate the beauty of art and like the beauty of being on stage and the beauty of just like theater in general. And prior, mind you, I'm thinking I'm an athlete, I'm a jock, like I do cross country, basketball, track. Like I don't need theater. Like I'm not a theater person. And I loved her class so much that I signed up for it for second semester junior year. And then my senior year, she actually, it was her final year teaching. And she was doing the senior play or like the school play. And there was this kid, I think she kicked out because he was just being like a prima donna. And then she actually came to me that fall. So I'm about to like start basketball. And she was like, Ryan, I need you to do this this play. And I was like, a play? Like, look, I did your theater class last year, but like I'm not a play kind of guy. Like I've never done play. And she was like,
Right.
I'm begging you, I need you to do this play. Like I have no other options. And I was like, all right, like for you, I will. And so I did it, but I was like probably a month behind everyone else. And mind you, never did a play. So I had to rehearse my lines. My entire speaking part was like, I think it was like a 5-minute monologue. Obviously I couldn't have notes. So it was crazy. And everybody else in the play was like, you brought this guy from like the basketball team, like to do this. And every single night, like in auditions, I'm messing up and messing up and messing up. And the first night that I remembered all my lines was actually opening night. And every single night, I think there were seven different plays, and every single night I remember my lines, and it really changed my life because I went from thinking I was like one dimensional beforehand to really understanding what theater is all about, having an appreciation for theater, having an appreciation for the people that were in the class, and it genuinely changed my life. So if there's any teacher that changed my life, it was her. So, but I love a lot of other teachers. Like I had so much fun with a lot of my teachers.
Okay.
He was my favorite.
All right. So next question, same topic. What was your favorite school subject?
Oh, good question. School start. I mean, I'm not gonna say PE. I'm not gonna say theater. Um, Maybe science. I don't know, but I was terrible at science. But I was gonna say math too, but I wasn't that good at math. Uh, history, but I don't think I have great grades in history. I'm just gonna say science because I
Okay.
we had a teacher that blew things up my junior year, so
Okay.
I'll go with that.
All right. Last three. All right. What's your favorite flower?
Oh, um, I don't know, sunflower,
Okay. What's your favorite fruit?
kiwi. I love kiwi.
Okay. Last question. Who's your favorite male biological parent?
Oh, huh.
You're a funny guy, Ryan.
Yeah, so yeah.
All right. So give me my 20.
All right, cool. All right. First up,
So how were those, by the way?
they were good. They were good.
Nice mix.
Yeah, it was a nice mix. It was funny as I was writing down my questions. I was thinking, I was like, what kind of questions am I gonna get? Always thinking on the spot is a little tough. But Yeah. Anyway, but no, they were good.
Okay.
So, all right, cool. You ready?
Ready.
All right. First up, what are you most proud of?
Most proud of at at this point in my life, what I'd be proud of that I've had something to do with and my abilities. I would actually have to say, as a songwriter, I I think I'm most proud of my ability to write lyrics because there was a period in my life that I didn't think I was going to be able to read. When I was in like fifth and sixth grade, I was just really struggling. And it wasn't until junior high that I understand how to start writing. So I think my ability to put together a cohesive phrase and sentence is what I'm most proud that I can do.
Okay.
That's what I got.
All right, cool. That sounds good. What gets you fired up?
What gets me fired up?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, these actually, and not to kind of like, I don't know. I lately these conversations, like these conversations with you,
Mm-hmm.
have gotten me really fired up to reflect on my life and to think about the things that I've done and to work on finishing some things that I hadn't finished. But it's like it seems like every time I I get a extended connection with one of my kids, something happens. Like I really went crazy in my art phase when Adrian started coming around here, and I really got into thinking about my writing and my abilities and my life and where I've been in my life and where I'm going to go for the next however many years I got from talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the things that, but up until then, up until these recent years, or my late 50s, 60s, up to then, I would get fired up about building things, working in the garden. Gardening really got me fired up. Watching plants grow and watching tomatoes come out, and just watching the whole process of plant in the soil, then leaves developing, and then flowers developing, and then fruits developing from that. That was the thing that really got me really excited, and pumped up. And a good sounding band. Being, so I mean there are a few things.
Okay.
But that's what I got.
All right, cool. What actor would play you in a movie about your life?
Oh man, what actor would play me? I'd say someone like Dennis Haysbert. Is that his name?
Dennis Haysbert. I'm trying to think.
He was the president, the black president on 24.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Him, or if if I wanted a fantasized version of me, I'd like Idris Elba.
Uh-huh.
That's yeah, those are the ones that I would think of. I listen to. I told you I listen to a lot of classic old time radio,
Hmm.
and it's generally these detective stories. But I always picture the people in the stories as black people that I know,
Mm.
and a mixture of that and celebrities like Denzel Washington is always one of the characters that I picture in my mind, even though I know it's you know Lloyd Bridges or one of those guys. So,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah, Dennis Haysbert. That's who I would have play me.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We'll go with it. So the next question I have for you is, what's your favorite dinner?
My favorite dinner: faux faux chicken soup with fresh spring rolls, summer rolls with shrimp.
Mm, okay. Not bad. What's your biggest missed opportunity?
Oh man, that's a list. That's a list. Um, Not investing in Humana when I had the chance when I lived in Las Vegas. I would probably, if I'd invested in like Humana for 3 years, I'd probably be a millionaire right now.
Okay.
That's, I mean, I yeah, my the list of missed opportunities is long and distinguished. I mean, but that's I'm just going to give you that one off the top of my head because
Okay.
there's family missed opportunities, there's educational missed opportunities, there's career missed opportunities, there's I mean, on and on and on and on.
Hmm.
But but
Fair enough.
that's what I'll go with.
All right. Now you get a free vacation to any spot in the world. Where are you choosing to go?
Oh, um, Probably Costa Rica, because one of the reasons, I mean, and that's something that's relatively recent with me, because I was just doing research on where is a good place for black people to live if Trump wins a second term. And, and Costa Rica was at the top of the list. So I've been investigating Costa Rica. I also would like to spend some time in some Eastern European countries. Like I'd like to go to Albania.
Okay.
Um, that's that's about it. I mean, definitely I would love to go on. Did you say to live or to visit?
Just visit. But
Yeah,
you
I,
can live there
I would.
too. It's your world.
I wouldn't mind going to Italy. But yeah, Albania, Italy, but to live Costa Rica.
Okay. All right, cool. Now, what song have you listened to the most in your life?
Um, I don't know. I think song that I've listened to the most in one setting of a song that I wasn't trying to learn how to sing
Hmm.
was Annie Lennox Walking on Broken Glass. I just love all of that. And Peaches and Regalia by the Mothers of Invention.
Okay. All right, cool. Now, who's your favorite guilty pleasure music artist?
My favorite guilty pleasure music artist.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I like a lot of stupid music.
Okay.
Like when I was a kid, I used to like Bread. You ever hear the band Bread?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I saw them on they came up on popped up on my TV the other day, like somehow, some way, and I remember thinking, I was like, man, band names back in the day used to be so just
Just words.
yeah, red,
Right, they weren't
American,
descriptive.
Boston. Oh,
Foreigner.
yeah. But yeah, when I
Yeah,
saw Bread pop up, I was like, wait, there's a band just named Bread? Like, how do
yeah.
you?
David Gates and Bread. They had schmaltzy kind of like pop songs.
Mhm.
I used to also be a big Three Dog Night fan.
Okay.
I used to love. I used to think that they were the coolest band in the world.
Hmm.
But yeah, in terms of guilty pleasure, that would be it. Bread, Three Dog Night. I mean, I was a big Carole King fan for a while. I liked Carly Simon,
Okay.
but I think I like them more because I like their looks. So,
Okay. All right. What career should you have been in?
um, you know what? I should have been, for the early part of my life, a professional football player.
Mm, okay.
That's what I was, when I went into high school, that was my trajectory. I planned on playing football. I mean, I loved playing basketball,
Hmm.
but I thought that I was really good at football.
Okay.
But music has always been like the way I would have loved to have a career and make a living.
Hmm.
As a professional musician, professional singer.
Okay. Who is your favorite athlete?
My favorite athlete, I'd have to, it's, I have to go with the two biggies, Michael Jordan and Tom Brady.
Okay. So, what would the title of your autobiography be?
But wait, there's more, or the prodigal man, because I leave things and I end up coming back to them. I kind of did it with my kids. I kind of did it with my family. I've kind of did it with art. I kind of did it with music. I stopped playing music for like a bunch of years, and I came back to it. So I'd probably have to say the prodigal man.
All right. All right. We'll take it. Um, what's your favorite show of all time?
And this is a hard one. I I really was totally and completely into the first two seasons of 24.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I also, from a kid, I don't really think I had it. I mean, I'd say as a kid, uh, Walt Disney, Wonderful World of Disney, or whatever it was called, they're different. But yeah, Sunday night television when I was a kid, and Thursday night television on NBC as I became like a teenager.
Hmm.
Then as an adult, it would have to be 24.
Okay. All right, cool. Now, what popular show or movie do you refuse to watch?
Oh God, there's a few of them. Um, the one with the rabbit in the pot, with Michael Douglas and Glenn Close. What's that movie?
Uh, I don't know that one.
Oh shit.
I just looked it up. Fatal Attraction?
Fatal Attraction. Yeah,
Okay.
Fatal Attraction. I would never ever watch.
Okay.
Uh, I don't watch movies with the word zombie in it. Or the other one with the leg uncrossing with Sharon Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Basic Instinct or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, those are two movies that I will never watch.
All right. Now, what is something that you think is just perfect?
I think that plants across the board are perfect. The way they take nourishment from the soil, and they the leaves develop, and the whole thing, photosynthesis, feeding it, and then that turning with water and sunlight into flowers that turn into, in some cases, edible plants, but if not edible, at least beautiful plants. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think plants are perfect. They use their environment and they give back in a multitude of ways.
Okay. All right. I like that. Now, what do you wish that you knew more about?
Oh, what do I wish I knew more about? Science, and the world, and um, you know, just I remember someone explaining to me why the sky is blue, and he was saying it's because of our atmosphere and the things that are in our atmosphere. If we had other things in our atmosphere, our sky might be green or red or
Hmm.
so. Yeah, science overall. I wish I knew more about the inner workings of everything from televisions to I just wish I had more of a science background.
Okay. All right. Um, what is special about the place that you grew up?
Uh, uh, see, my my growing up was just all over the place. If we want to start with like Rensselaer, where I spent my childhood, um, it was the friendships that I developed, um, the the fact that it was a mixed race community at a time when I think I talked to you about this, about when black people were coming from colored to Negro to
Hmm.
black. It was
Hmm.
it was during that period in the early '60s that there was a sense of family, and we were just we all hung up. Everybody from David Butler to Leo Belface to the Zigglers to the Trotties. Just all these different people, even Otto. I told you about Otto, the guy who
Hmm.
lived next door that my
Yeah.
brother Garland says was a Nazi. you know,
Uh-huh.
just the old people and going to the store for people and shining shoes on Broadway and getting 50 cents and going down to Joy's department store and buying a guitar or going to the boys club and playing on the trampoline. And it seemed like a very playful time for me. And I didn't realize how poor we were. I just went to school and came home and played and shined shoes, and I never really ever had a bike or anything like that.
Okay.
But I didn't really miss it. We used to build forts, and so growing up in Rensselaer was kind of cool because, like I said, I felt there was a close knit community.
Okay. All right. Now, what are you most likely to become famous for?
What am I most likely to become famous for?
Yeah.
I'm trying right now to become famous as a songwriter. That would be my hope. That's sort of like my pension plan. See if I can get a couple of my songs on some albums and start getting some residual money from that, or get my play produced, or get my my book of toy projects for kids done. I'm like about a third of the way through it. So yeah, I don't really know. I'd have to say songs.
Okay. All right. Now, 3 questions left. So, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Pistachio.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. What do you take for granted?
No matter what I do, good or bad, in the rest of my life, I will always have some place to lay my head at the end of the day that isn't governed or sanctioned by a government. Meaning, like, I have enough family that I have some couch that I could always go to and sleep. That's kind of what I take for granted.
Okay. All right. Now, the last of the 20 questions I have for you.
Okay.
What advice would you give to a new father?
What advice would I give to a new father?
Yeah, somebody comes up to you and says, I'm going to be a dad. What advice do you have for me?
Okay. I think that you should work on, as a father, and I didn't do this, I think you should work on some sort of like symbiotic trajectory with your children, because people coming in and out of other people's lives, like when I came into your mother's life, I completely changed her trajectory. And when I left you, I sort of changed your trajectory without being there with you. So, yeah, my advice would be try to stay on the same trajectory as your kids, no matter how your relationship with their mother Because you're talking about from talking to a man, right?
Yep.
Because your relationship with their mother becomes secondary to your relationship with them. And you just need to be there and offer whatever you have to offer for as long as, if not as long as you're alive, as long as they're alive. So that's what I got.
Okay. Has anybody ever come to you for fatherly advice?
I'm trying to think. I just called a client the other day who he's probably one of my, like, I see most of these people once, maybe twice, sometimes 3 times, sometimes up to 5 times. But I see him every week. He comes in my office and sits down and we just talk. So I called him the other day, and he was actually at the hospital with his girlfriend, who's been, pregnant, because we've been talking about her pregnancy for the past obviously 9 months. And so he's one person that I give parenting advice to. And I spoke to him the other day, and I just, because his issue now is he works at the university, but he's laid off because of this COVID-19 thing. And I just told him, like, man, it's not so much about the job that you have. It's about how you interact with this child now. That's it. I mean, you gotta stay. I know it's hard. You're on probation. You owe restitution payments. You don't have a job right now, but you have a new child, and you gotta stick with it. I mean, and that's yeah. So I've got some people have asked my advice, and my advice is like, stick with it. Don't give up. Those are those are kind of themes that I come back to when I'm writing songs. I write about situations in my life, and it's like a reoccurring theme is don't give up. Stick with it. That's really the only advice that I can give to anybody. I mean, God bless you all, like you, Adrian, and Tony. You turned out fine. You guys turned out fine without me. And I just wonder, like, how much better we all would have been if I stuck with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now, one of the questions I have, which is really so fascinating, because here, you're obviously talking about, like, the trajectory and what would have changed if I stuck around. And at the beginning of all this, you talked about your own dad and his own dad, who weren't around. So, if your father was around, how do you think home life would have changed for you? If he did stick around, if he didn't go to Phoenix, if he was present for your life.
Yeah, I think if my father had stuck around, it's sort of like the same thing as me. He was like a smart guy. He was always doing something cutting edge, but he was just restless. And I think I wouldn't have been as restless as I was if, one, there was someone who had accountability for me, like someone like by time I came along, I think my mother was tired of raising boys. She just was. I mean, I was sort of like, my mother would like play with me and sit me down and we'd watch movies together, or she'd read like scripts that she wrote that she wanted to send to Tide. And, you know, she would talk to me about growing up poor and traveling around with her mother. I think she talked to me more than she talked to my brothers and sisters. At
Mm-hmm.
least that's the sense that I get now when I talk to them about it, because they would say, "Oh, she never talked to me about that stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And but she wasn't into, like, I think, raising me and teaching me and, you know, helping me learn and sitting down and doing my homework with me. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt that in our bedroom, I wasn't even assigned a bed, because it was a room with like 3, maybe 4 beds in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like whoever got to what bed first. So there was no real normalcy. Like, I didn't really look at it as being poor. I just looked at it as being sort of an odd way to live. I didn't think people should be living the way that we lived. And I think that could have changed if my father had been around. There could have been more of you know, gave my mother the ability to be a mother and not just a pal.
Mm-hmm.
And for, you know, for someone to like talk to me when I do something really bad, as opposed to just giving me a whooping as my mother would do. So yeah, I think if he had stuck around, you know, once again, it's that whole trajectory thing. He could have been there with me, and I could have, I don't know, learned how to stick around. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's what I never learned how to do from my father.
Yeah.
Which you got it from your mother and your uncles
Mm-hmm.
and your grandfather. Which I got it. I got it from really no one.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's really fascinating is because we've talked, I think we've talked maybe like not recording wise, but about my motivations for starting this whole project. And I think I've always been fascinated with fatherhood as a whole, prior to becoming a dad and now certainly as a dad. And as I started doing research into this whole project, like I always knew that my story itself you know, wasn't super unique. I think it was in Queensbury, at least around the people I was around. I mean, a lot of my friends' dads were around. So I think my story was unique in that self. But when I look globally and certainly throughout the country, I mean, even right now, there's millions and millions of kids that are growing up right now who don't know their dads and either
Right.
don't know who they are or don't have any contact with them. And for me, it's always been really, really interesting in terms of like why that is. And so that was one of the reasons I wanted to start this off is because I'm present for my kids. I think I certainly have a life right now that I'm very, very proud of and that I hope for and dream for, and now I have it. But at the same time, I look at some of the statistics in terms of kids who grew up without dads, and all the odds were against me, like all of them. From completing
Right.
school to having a healthy marriage to, um, not ending up in jail, like all these different things. Like these are odds that I beat, and I didn't really think of it until I started seeing some of these numbers. So, from your perspective, if somebody came to you and said, like, Maurice, like, we know your autobiography, we know your story, we know your background. Now you have an opportunity. to speak to just a generation of men who maybe follow or are starting to follow the same path that you followed, what advice would you have for them?
Um, that's a really hard question. Uh, well, like I said, in short, um, I guess when you have a child, it should be about the child. I mean, everything. There's some families that stick together, but the whole family dynamic is about the father. Make sure you save your father a piece of chicken. Make sure you're going to get it when your father comes home. It's like everything is about the father in some families. And it should always be about the kids, the ones coming behind you. Just like I said before, it's you're gonna have difficulties in your relationships with your spouse, but you gotta figure out how to make separate from your relationship with your children. It's like when people get divorced and they start using the children as pawns in their like hurtful relationships. You could never do that. You have to make sure that priority one is providing for your family. Priority two is like to be present in your child's life and help direct them into like what they're going to be. I really wouldn't have much more than that to say. I would, make the child number one and stick with them.
Fair enough. And now you have grandkids. You have, there's out of your three kids, we all have kids, and what's interesting is that we're all on the opposite coast.
Right.
Which is just interesting. So, going forward, and we've talked about this, like, we can't necessarily change the past, and we learn from it. But going forward, what do you want your legacy to be for my girls and for Tony's girl and for Adrian's son?
Well, I would, whatever they choose, I want them to be successful. I want them to know that I am a part of their history, and that as long as I am alive, I am here to support them in whatever way. It's like grandchildren in a lot of cases are kind of the best second act. It's sort of like the opportunity to try to get it right on certain level because, they are an extension of you. And you like I said, you want them to be happy, healthy, successful, and know that there is this man living in this little house in Waterville, New York, that loves you, that thinks of you, that wants to be part of your life in some way. I want to hear each one of them say my name at some point. I just think that, like I said, having grandkids is an opportunity to try to get something right. That's it.
Hmm. Hmm. And I know this is going to be like a really difficult question, but I think it's something that people wrestle with who like maybe have absent parents and maybe come back into the picture. But do you feel that you have the you have the right to call yourself a grandfather?
Yeah, yeah. Um, because I mean, I think a father is one thing. I have a right to call myself your father without putting biological in front of it. Like, no, not necessarily. Um, but with grandchildren, I think that the emphasis is on the grand part. It's they're like part of they're part of your biology. There's really nothing you could do about that.
Hmm.
And if you try, if you try to take responsibility for them as babies, toddlers, children, teenagers, adults, if you are attempting to participate in their lives from that time to the time that you're gone or they're gone, I'm like, yeah, I think you have a right to call yourself a grandfather. That's that's the way I look at it because I'm like I'm getting into it at a young age, and I plan on sticking with it as long as I'm here or as long as they're here.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, but it's a good question.
Okay, cool. And I remember in what was this? Yeah, it was just last year, right after the family reunion, and I think we had talked about this, but you had sent, you had sent at least Reagan a T-shirt from the family reunion that had everyone's name on it. I think like posting some pictures on like Facebook, and it seemed like you were being really intentional in terms of including, like my family in the family reunion in Albany. And I remember getting that T-shirt and just thinking like, how am I going to explain this to my kids one day? And so we've talked a little bit about how you explain it, and I think the best way is just to be honest. um
Yeah, well, here's kind of what I was thinking with the T-shirt.
mhm.
At some point, Reagan's going to learn to read, and she's going to see that shirt, and she's going to ask you, what's this about?"
Mhm.
And at that point, like, yeah, I didn't plan on you sitting down and saying, "This is from your Rucker side of your family," but I figured at some point she's gonna say, what does this stuff say on my shirt?"
Mhm.
And you're gonna have to explain it to her the best you possibly can.
Mhm. Mhm. For sure. For sure. But within that package, you had wrote a poem for your granddaughters. Do you still have
Yeah,
that poem?
on my computer somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. um I was gonna say, yeah, if I don't know if you have access to it, but I would love you to read the poem, if you have access to it.
Yeah, I mean, probably couldn't do it at this very moment, but the next time we talk, definitely can.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's do that. Because when when Reagan was born and when Sienna was born, like I wrote a song for both of them and recorded it, because I really wanted both of them to have recorded evidence of the way that the dad felt about them, and just kind of like what was going on in life at the time. So I remember when I got that poem, it was really interesting because it was like, oh, like here's something that was written, by you, to them, and I think it'll be really interesting for them to have one day because our story is so unique. And
Right, right.
um, for the fact that we live on the other side of the country, like I don't know when we'll be back there, if we'll be back there. Like I just don't know what that looks like, So regardless, this will be something that they have, from you. It was a poem, and it
Yeah,
was intentionally read about them. So yeah, I'd love to eventually have that. If you can read
yeah,
for them, that'd be great.
yeah, without a doubt. I have to just like go on my computer and find it.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I got a letter that I wrote to the three of you, and it ended up being kind of dark.
Mhm.
I was like, wow, you sound like you sound like an evil man.
Wait,
But
where is this letter?
it's on my computer as well. I was just looking at it the other day, and I just never sent it because, like I said, it. I mean, with the hindsight of our conversations, I probably could send it to you at this point because it would make sense. But I
Mhm.
think where it originally came from was like I was probably just depressed, and I was going through, I'm you know thinking about what I missed out on in life and why I missed out on it. So, but yeah, I'll find both of those.
Next week on the finale of Complicated Fatherhood.
I've done a lot of fucked up things in my life. My life hasn't been a total loss. I've never done a bad thing. If I was going to apologize for anything, I should apologize for that.
While I was growing up, like if you brought that instability into my life, I just wonder how it would have turned out. Complicated Fatherhood was written, recorded, and edited by me, Ryan Rucker. All music was composed and recorded by me as well. Join us for the conversation on Instagram @ComplicatedFatherhood. And if you like what you hear, I'd love for you to share this podcast on any of your favorite social media platforms using the hashtag ComplicatedFatherhood. We'll see you next time.